The NBA is back, and so am I. Thursday, February 19th, we got some plays I'm going to talk about in this video. 10-game slate, so definitely loving the board. I've been looking at it the past few days, kind of just seeing where things have been moving, and I've got a pretty good scope of what's going on, and that's what I'm going to talk about for today. I'm probably going to talk about 4 or 5 of my favorite plays, and then I'm probably going to talk about the entire slate breakdown. So if you guys want to stay tuned for that, get some ideas on who's playing, projected minutes, and things like that, you could do that. So if that sounds cool, go to leave the video a like, comment something down below, subscribe if you are new, all those good things. I'm going to go over a recap, but it's not going to be of the last video. It's going to be of the entire season so far. I'm going to do it very quickly, and then we'll hop into the plays for today. Let's do it. So here it is. If you're new around here, I do track every single play I give out on YouTube. So this is not just like my favorite plays. This is literally every single official pick I've given out on YouTube. There's been over 400 of them, I believe. Yeah, they're all tracked in season stats. We're up 22.44 units on the entire season. A lot of those I do attack overs. I think it's more fun to bet on overs. I know there's a lot of money in unders. I attack unders very often in my Discord community. So it's not like we don't do it, but on YouTube, if I find some overs that I'm liking, I go to that, and we're doing pretty dang well in overs. Some glaring things that are popping out to me. It's good to see that we're profitable in pretty much every area, except for points, which I thought was very interesting. I think this might be due to like a very bad stretch that we went through throughout the season, but we've been pretty good on points the past month during January and February. So I think this might have been the beginning of the year when things were a little wonky. Maybe I started out pretty poor on points, but yeah, throughout the entire season, that has been the Achilles heel for me. But everything else has been pretty much been profitable. Blocks were down a little bit. Double doubles were down a little bit. But we've only gone to a few props in each of those guys. Another interesting one here is assists. I'm like a wizard at assists. 9.66 units just coming from assists. Those are 50-50 lines, 22 and 8. And then plus money assists, I should stay away from them. I'm down actually 4.15 units. So interesting thing there. And then the other best, prop out there is threes. So assists and threes have kind of been good to me. Interestingly enough, I haven't been going to points, but points and rebounds. If I combo it up with something, I have been profitable. So just some things that have pointed out to me. I don't think this is anything too crazy. This is the first year I've done this. I don't think I'm like, oh, I'm bad at reading points. Maybe there's a little bit more variance in points than, getting that third three or something and getting a lot of volume threes, or even, are you going to be the playmaker, facilitator for your team that day? Maybe points is like you could have a bad shooting night, even in a good matchup. It could come down to that, but at the same time, I'd like to see this. It's pretty consistent throughout the entirety of the stats. And again, we're up 22.44 units just on the YouTube video picks throughout the season. For my Discord community, we've been up a lot of units. I think we're up like over 150 units for the entire season. But let's get into the first play of the video. That was the recap, and let's try to do a little bit more of the same throughout the second half of the season. So hopping into Props Madness like we always do to start talking about our plays. Props Madness is awesome. I've missed using it over this break. But yeah, they got a ton of filters, as much information as you can handle. Best visual research tool out there for player props, hands down, no questions. If you're watching this video and you're like, okay, I got to try this thing out, there's going to be a link in the description down below for 25% off your first month. It lets them know that I sent you there. And again, Props Madness, freaking awesome tool. And we're going to start with Brandon Miller, 26.5 points and rebounds. He's got a tough matchup here after the All-Star break. 5th in defensive rating. This is the Rockets. He's had a bad game against this team already with 9 field goals attempted. They won that game by 10. Brandon Miller just kind of a non-factor. But there's a lot of things going on. This is obviously after the All-Star break. It can get a little crazy after these first few games. I know a lot of people say March is one of the hardest months to bet on, and I kind of would agree. But we're not at March yet. And we got Houston, who, if you guys have not been following, the Kevin Durant files are out. Is this going to hurt team chemistry? Is this going to light a fire under these guys? Kevin Durant has pretty much slandered these guys, all of his teammates as coaches, online on a burner Twitter account. We don't know if it's legit or anything yet, but there's a lot of things that are pointing to probably it is a fact. But we'll see if that hurts any of their chemistry. They have not been playing particularly well anyway, and the Charlotte Hornets have been playing really well. Now, there's a few things to talk about for the Hornets side of things too, because we're going to get no Bridges, we're going to get no Diabate, but I think that only would help for a guy like Brandon Miller, one of their best scorers on the team, to score some points, and Diabate not there to get maybe a little bit more rebounds. So I think this game should stay close. It's a 4.5 point spread in favor of Houston. Makes sense. There's no Miles Bridges. There's no Diabate. But the Charlotte Hornets have been playing pretty dang well. They're playing new, rejuvenated basketball, and a lot of that is due to Brandon Miller. And also, LaMelo Ball got in a car crash a few days ago. Didn't seem to get hurt. He's not in the injury report, but just something to think about. Maybe he's a little mentally shook. So maybe this relies on Brandon Miller. Maybe this is a Rockets blowout. That could be the problem here. But I like this spot. 26.5 points and rebounds. He's going up against a difficult defense. They rank number 5, but in challenging defenses, he's still been pretty dang good. Other than that one game against the Rockets, Recently, he's been really, really good, and that's kind of been his form since the beginning of the season. A little rough start, and then he's really been hitting his groove the past 20 or so games. So even in difficult matchups, I don't mind this against the Rockets unless they come out and smack these guys around. I think they're going to rely on Brandon Miller a little bit more. Next up, let's just point to games without Miles Bridges. Yeah, he's over in both games, 35 and 40 points and rebounds. But look at the volume this guy's getting. 26 shots and 29 shots in both those games. LaMelo played in both those games. I think Diabate was in one of these games. But the volume is ridiculous in these games. So I like to see the volume in spots that Miles Bridges isn't there. They don't rely as heavily on LaMelo anymore. So that's a good sign too. And without Diabate, he's over in 3-5 games as well. I don't think it's going to be as much of a factor. We just want Brandon Miller to get a lot of shots up. If he can snag some extra rebounds, that would be good. But Bridges being out is the bigger thing for the volume of shots I think Miller should get. So a difficult spot here coming off the All-Star break, but there's a lot of things going on the Rocket side of things. There's a lot of things going on in the Hornet side of things. And I think Brandon Miller should just have an uptick in volume. He's been playing pretty dang well anyway. So even in these difficult spots, I'm liking it. 26.5 points and rebounds. First play of the video. If you're wondering why I didn't talk about the player type analysis much here, it's because this is very much a volume play here. If you go to field goals attempted, we just talked about how many shots he gets without Miles Bridges. If he's going to get 20 plus shots, obviously we're going to have a pretty good chance at going over this, even against difficult defenses. We got the Spurs right here, the Cavs right here. He's been doing it pretty much all season when he gets the volume, and that should be the case without Miles Bridges. Also, he's a catch and shoot kind of guy. He's a spot up kind of guy sometimes, but without Miles Bridges, he's going to be a volume guy. He's going to get the pick and roll ball handlings much more often, and that's where the Rockets are weak. They hold down on spot up, they hold down on catch and shoot, and they let those high usage players, kind of do their thing. And I think that's what we'll see Brandon Miller do today. Next up, I'm attacking some plus money here for Immanuel Quickley. Over 5.5 assists, plus 104 on DraftKings. And his hit rate's around 50%, but he's got a textbook matchup here. If you thought the Bulls defense was bad before all the trades, now they just made a bunch of trades and they got pretty much 8 new players, and they're all guards that are pretty much only offensive players. So yeah, a lot of guys have been cooking their assist line. Pritchard and Derek White, both in the same team, 8 and 9 assists for them. Nolan Traore for the Nets, he had 13 assists against his team, and they won that thing by 8 points. Jamal Murray, 11. Jamal Shed, 8. Ryan Rollins, 10. Guys have just been crushing their assist line, especially after those trades happened. But the Bulls allowed a lot of assists on the entire season for the entire season. Like I just said, they give up a lot in the paint. They give up a lot above the break threes. That's pretty much all where Immanuel Quickley is getting his assists. So I like to see that. Now, Quickley, this is a plus money play. He's over this in 50% of games, which is pretty good. He's had a couple games here with 5 assists, 10 potentials against the Pistons. He's been getting a decent amount of assists, and he's one of those guys that doesn't need a ton of potential assists. He converts at a high rate. The next thing I'll point to is we got a couple guys that are game time decision, Colin Murray-Boyles, Sandro Mamukelashvili, but we do have Jakob Poeltl in there, which he missed some time. And with Jakob Poeltl in here, this jumps up to a 65% hit rate. And again, they're very weak down low, giving up a lot of assists. So I'd like to see Jakob Poeltl active in there. RJ Barrett's in there, with RJ Barrett, not Jakob Poeltl, 2 guys that have missed some time. Quickley's now over this in 69% of games. So he's got a textbook matchup against the Bulls, who are giving up 1 million assists to pretty much everyone. We're also getting a great price tag here, so it's checking a lot of boxes. He's been going over this very consistently with especially these guys out of the lineup. So again, checked all my boxes, looking really, really good. Guys are going over this line. Looks like a no-brainer to me. Now, we could get some weird stuff after the All-Star break. That could happen. That could end up happening the next month and a half in the NBA as teams start to, sit guys. The Sacramento Kings have shut down Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis already this season. We could see a little bit more of that. But a team like the Raptors, they should be pretty dang good as they're, fighting for playoff positioning and things like that. So Immanuel Quickley, loving the spot for him, especially for plus money. 5.5 assists, taking the over. Jumping into play number 3, I got a ladder here for Ben Shepard, the rebound. It's going to be a weird one, but I'm going to talk through it. Let's first go to the injury news for both these teams. First of all, the Wizards, they're bad overall. They give up a ton of rebounds to everyone. You can see rebounds allowed, defense rebounds to position, offense rebounds allowed, defense rebounds allowed. They give up a whole lot of rebounds. They got a bad defense. We know that. And without Alex Sarr in the lineup, that's going to hurt them even a little bit more. But going to the Pacers side of things, that's a little bit more interesting, especially for a guy like Ben Shepard. We got no Siakam. We got no Obi Toppin. We got no Zubac. And someone that's not listed here because he just tore his ACL, Johnny Furphy is going to be out for the season, who kind of plays a similar spot to Ben Shepard. And Furphy playing about 20 minutes a game, that's going to open up some spots for a guy like Ben Shepard. Then you get the questionable tags. TJ McConnell questionable, Aaron Nesmith questionable. This is a team that does not want to win anyway, so you go out there and you maybe don't play these guys, or if they do play, I don't think it hurts them all too much. Now let's go to the projected minutes because I kind of disagree with this. They're saying that Ben Shepard projected for 19 minutes here. We get some other guys off the bench. This is also accounting for all these guys that are questionable playing. But I think Ben Shepard could play some more time on the court here. I want to go to Props Madness and kind of show you games without a guy like Johnny Furphy. And we can see his minutes jump up by 3 minutes a game, 24.7 on average. And he's over this 2.5 rebound line in 70% of those games. So I'd like to see that this is around 24. And I think that if someone does sit here, and again, looking at the Pacers team, they might want to go and be a little bit cautious and sit some of these guys. I think Ben Shepard comes out here and plays a decent amount of time. So I'm actually going to boost his minutes up to 25 plus minutes. Now, he might not get 25 plus minutes. He might get 25 minutes exactly, but I could see him, especially if more of these guys get ruled out, playing a little bit more time in the court. And this is what we're looking at for a hit rate. So I'm laddering this thing up to 3 threes, so 2.5, 4 threes, 5 threes, and 6 threes, because he's definitely capable of doing that. We already got no Siakam. They already don't really have a center out there anyway to gobble up a lot of rebounds. Furphy's going to be out there that plays his position, and they're going up against the Wizards. So I think this is a spot that Ben Shepard could get some time in the court. He's had some games here where he sees 27, 29, even to the 30 minutes sometimes when they're really beat up. Let's see the last time he had 30 minutes in a game, probably right here. No Obi Toppin, no Nesmith, no Furphy. So that's kind of the recipe we got here. We might get Nesmith, but we got no Siakam. We got no Obi Toppin still. So he had 4 rebounds in that game. He's capable of getting more, especially in a matchup like this against the Wizards. He's had 3 rebounds against this team in 29 minutes. They also won that game by 33 points. He played 29 minutes. So the volume should be there. I think the time in the court should be there. And I like the potential for getting this up and hitting a decent amount of ladders of 4 threes or 4 rebounds, 5 rebounds, 6 rebounds. So I'm taking it at minus 147. I'm taking it at plus 159. I'm taking it at plus 342. I'm taking it plus 720. The way I'm doing this is if we win this first one, the minus 147, and lose all these other ones, we're only going to lose about 0.16 units. If we go out there and climb the entire ladder, though, or let's just say, we win 2 ladders, now we're up a half unit. Climb the ladder a little bit more, we're already up over a unit. We almost win 2 units if he climbs the entire ladder. So this is the unit management for Ben Shepard. Kind of a fun one. Again, after the All-Star break, it can get a little bit weird. So going to a guy like Ben Shepard and kind of betting on the upside, I think could be a good way to handle that. So Ben Shepard, weird one. I'm taking some boards for him. Jumping to play number 4, talking Stefon Castle for the San Antonio Spurs. Now, before the break, he kind of was dealing with an injury, twisted his ankle or something, and only played 12 and 21 minutes, but should be fully healthy. He's had a week off here. It wasn't anything too serious. And he's got a matchup that looks bad on paper, but this is a really bad Wemby matchup to score some points. And with Wemby not scoring points, Stefon Castle is usually like a massive factor for them. So we've actually seen this. Wemby had like 8 or 9 points against the Suns team last time they played, and Stefon Castle had 38 points, rebounds, and assists. So that's what I'm looking at. PRA of 26.5, minus 110. I think we're getting a little bit of a discount because of this down stretch he had, the injury that he had right before the break, but I think he should be out there and be fully healthy and get his normal minutes. I don't think he's going to get 12 or 21 minutes. Right now he's projected for 27 minutes, and I think we could see something even a little bit higher than that. So if we go to expected, 23 to 33, I think that makes sense, but I think it's maybe even more like 26 to 33. Now Castle's over this in 70% of games. And again, sure, tough defense, tough, teams are not positionally not going over this against this Suns defense, but this is a battle in the West. Suns are a good team in the West, Spurs, good team in the West. This is where we start battling for playoff positioning. So these games might feel a little bit more real. So Castle, gets the time in the court, 26 to 33 minutes. He's getting over this a decent amount. And again, it's not a great Wemby matchup here. So they're going to focus in on Wemby, and I think Castle could be the guy that cooks on the other side of that. So if they're going to look at games that Wemby's kind of struggling, you go see, 16 points against the Dallas Mavericks, kind of a bad game in terms of what Wemby can do. This is that game against the Dallas Mavericks. Castle had 40 points, 12 rebounds, and 12 assists. Absolutely crushed his PRA. But even in games that are a little bit closer, look at this game against the Charlotte Hornets. 16 points in that game. Struggled a little bit. They lost this game by 5. Castle goes over his PRA with 30 PRA, 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists. You go to another game. Let's look at how about the Rockets back on the 20th of January, where Wemby had 14 points. You go back to the 20th of January, Castle still over that in a loss, 13 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. So he's chipping in. He's playing pretty well, going over this line pretty consistently in these games that Wemby's not a humongous factor. And Wemby played really, really well in that All-Star game. So I'm a little bit hesitant to take his under 23.5 points, but at the same time, we already looked at how bad he played against this team last time. I don't think the Suns will change much again. They'll focus in on him, try to make life difficult for Wembanyama, and in turn, we saw, again, Castle have a really good game because of that. They'll live with Castle beating them in this instance, and I think Castle could have a big game, even if Wemby does play a little bit better. So liking Castle in this spot, 26.5 PRA, just seems too low, and again, I think that's basing off him having lower minutes because of that pelvic, I forget what it is. I think it was a pelvic thing that was keeping him, subdued here, 12 minutes and 21 minutes. He's had the break. He's had some time off. I think he should be healthy and ready to go and hopefully play pretty dang well once again against this team. So that'll do it for the official video picks. We are going to go over the recap in just a second here, but if you got to this point of the video, go ahead and like the video, comment something down below. It does help YouTube push this out a little bit more. We're doing this every single day too, so if you're new, definitely go ahead and subscribe. I want to shout out Pickett here. If you guys are tracking your bets manually or whatever it might be, or maybe you're not tracking them at all, you can get Pickett. It's a totally free bet tracker for you guys to use, and when you sign up using my code RichPicks, there's also a link in the description down below. You get $3 or $100, just Venmo to you, PayPal to you, whatever's easier for you. They just give it to you for free. And again, Pickett completely free for you guys to use. People often ask me like, hey, how do you know that you're a profitable sports bettor over the course of whatever it might be? This is the past month, and it's just because Pickett's synced with my sports books. PrizePicks, Underdog, Betr, FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever it might be, you can sync it, and it just does all the work for you. So 62.8 units of profit in the month of February. That's freaking awesome. And I don't have to do anything in terms of manual tracking because it's all synced to my sportsbook. So Pickett, absolutely no-brainer for you guys to use. You definitely want to check it out. Use code RichPicks when you do. Again, link in the description down below. So jumping to the recap of what we talked about in this video, we talked about 4 different players, and it looks like more just because we laddered Ben Shepard up a little bit. But we'll start with Brandon Miller. Points and rebounds, over 26.5 points and rebounds, minus 115, full unit play there. Then we're taking Immanuel Quickley over his 5.5 assists. That's a plus money play, plus 104 on DraftKings. Full unit there. We know the Bulls defense is horrendous. It's even worse now after the trade deadline. And a lot of people, specifically guards, are going over their assist lines. Then we got Ben Shepard. I think he can get more time in the court than what he's projected for right now, especially if some guys get ruled out, more guys get ruled out. So I'm taking his normal line, 2.5, all the way up to 5.5 rebounds here. And you can see the unit management. So 0.5 units on the juiced play, the minus 147 play, 0.25 units on the 3.5, 0.15 on the 4.5, and then 0.1 on the 5.5. If you're confused what this means, it just means what's your normal bet size? That's 1 unit. If you normally bet $20, then your unit size is $20. So that would be your normal unit size. If your normal bet unit size is $20, 0.5 units would be $10, obviously, on that. 0.25 would be 5. 0.15 would be 3. 0.1 would be 2. So that's kind of how you do the unit management. I'm pretty sure most of you guys would understand that, but if you don't, there's a little explanation on it. And then Stefon Castle will be our last play, over 26.5 PRA. If they're going to be focused in on Wemby, which I think the Suns will do because it worked last time, we've seen some teams do that. Castle is usually the guy that really steps up and plays pretty dang well. So I think this line's just too low in a matchup for him. So that's what we got going on for these plays. I was going to get a 5th play down, but I think I'd just be forced into this point. I really like these 4. And if you want access to all my plays, you can join my Discord community. There's a link in the description down below. You get access to all my plays, but you'd also get access to just a fun community aspect where you can talk to me, talk to other people that are in the community. We have some seasoned chefs in there too that share their plays all the time. Like during the break when there was no basketball, Pizza Pops, he absolutely dominated soccer and all the slips he was giving out. So it's not just me in there. We got some seasoned chefs that are doing some pretty good stuff. So again, fun community aspect, but also get access to all my plays. Link in the description down below. Giving everyone 50% off as well. So it's $10 for your first month. So now I'm going to hop into the full slate, talk about the projected minutes and things like that, just so we know who's playing, who might be out. You don't want to go to a line that's like too good to be true, and it's because it probably is. Someone's out or someone's back or something like that. There's also suspensions to talk about. So if you want to stay tuned for that, that's what we're going to hop into right now. So let's do it. So jumping over to RotoWire to start looking at all the projected minutes and things like that. RotoWire is awesome. Again, link in the description down below if you want to check out all of their tools. But one I was looking at here for the Brooklyn Nets is Michael Porter Jr. under his 2.5 assist line. huge spread here, and the Cavs don't allow a lot of assists anyway. They're playing pretty dang well with James Harden. They got some new life to them. So there's the projected minutes for the Brooklyn Nets. I don't have anything huge here. There's also no Claxton, which would help an under on the 2.5 assist line for Michael Porter Jr. But this is what we got going on for the Cavaliers. Harden's been a dime machine. His scoring has been down. I have attacked his under in scoring a little bit recently. And this is not a most amazing matchup for James Harden to score. But yeah, that's what we got going on for that first game. Atlanta and Philadelphia. Kuminga's still not making his debut, but he probably will be coming in soon. One guy I was looking at was Jalen Johnson over his 41.5 PRA, something I was definitely considering, something I might play later. But he's got a pretty good matchup here. 2-point spread should stay close, so could be one thing to go to. Dyson Daniels had a monster game against this team earlier on in the year. I think he had like 40 points or maybe even 41 points alone in that game. Then for the Philadelphia 76ers side of things, Joel Embiid's out and Paul George is out, so you got to look at Tyrese Maxey. Honestly, I was looking at his rebounds line just because with no Paul George and no Embiid, Maxey can board up, especially in a close game. He plays with a little bit more oomph and things like that. Dominic Barlow should get the time in the court. Bona maybe splits minutes with some other guys off the bench. But obviously you get the main guys up top with Maxey Oubre and VJ Edgecombe. Indiana and Washington, we talked a little bit about this game because we're going to a guy named Ben Shepard to go in there and get hopefully some rebounds today against the Wizards. We already talked about this game a little bit. A guy I was looking at was Jay Huff. Honestly, was looking at his under, but he should get a lot of time in the court. So I'm probably not going to do that, especially in a weak matchup against the Wizards. But there's no Siakam. We could get a lot of guys playing some weird minutes off the bench. So harder one to predict. I think Ben Shepard should get the time in the court, and that's what I'm riding with today. Washington side of things, very hard to predict them because they split so many minutes, but there's the projected minutes for those teams. So we're going to continue to run through all of these games, but I want to shout out RotoWire a little bit more than I usually do. We always run through the projected minutes and use them for injury news and on-off court stats and things like that, but they are really re-ramping their projection tools and things like that. So like going in for PrizePicks or something, DraftKings, they have all these different platforms that you can look at. They got really good projection models. They can see where other sites have their books, their hit rates and things like that. They kind of combine it all into one thing. So if we go over and we want to look at the NBA, or we can just search any player. So a guy like Brandon Miller is one of the guys we're going to today. We can go to his points and rebounds. It's at 26.5. That's where we're attacking it. And they're right now projecting for 27.54. They're also projecting, they're not projecting. You can see the hit rate over the last few games or whatever it might be. And again, the projection is over a full point over than what we're looking at. So they got a really cool projections model. Something I don't shout out a lot, something I'll probably shout out a couple times a month here, but definitely check it out. Just another good data set to have, very easy to use. In terms of industry standards, one of the cheapest out there in terms of what they give you. And a lot of times I use this for those niche things, kind of like on PrizePicks, like free throws made is one of my favorite things to look at on PrizePicks and Underdog when I'm looking at these niche plays. And they have projections on all of these too. So like free throws made, you can go in here, see all like the synced data from PrizePicks, and you can go say, hey, where's RotoWire saying that they're going to get over this? They're saying Nick Clifford's 1.5. They're projected for 2.67. So something to look into. Their free throws lines, their kind of like three-pointers attempted lines, things that you might not have a lot of data on. They have access to all of that. They also got like Call of Duty, Valorant, Counter-Strike. They got projections on a lot of those things, and that's not very, easy to get access to in terms of projections and things. So RotoWire's got that all. Definitely check them out. Link in the description again down below. Let's continue looking at these games. Houston and Charlotte, we talked about this game too. We're looking for a Brandon Miller game, 26.5 points of rebounds. Hopefully he balls out. Another guy I was looking at was Cockbrenner's under rebounds. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get. Grant Williams is now a factor once again, but obviously no Diabate, not a ton of data without him. On the Houston side of things, I don't think I have any leans on this side just because, honestly, with the Kevin Durant stuff, is this team going to be meshing really well? Did that, light a fire under these guys? Or is there going to be weird, chemistry going on for the Houston Rockets side of things? But again, suspensions for Bridges and Diabate. Kobe White not making his debut just yet either. Detroit and New York should be a good one. 4.5 point spread in favor of New York. But there's no Durant, there's no Stewart. Those guys are also suspended for a few games here. But we could see like a lot of scoring from Cade Cunningham. He'll probably be the bulk of the scoring here. A guy like Tobias Harris too could step up in a situation like this. Going to New York, I was honestly looking at Jalen Brunson's under assist just because the Pistons are a very difficult spot here for him. But we could see a big game from like Karl-Anthony Towns just because there's not going to be a lot of backcourt or front court backcourt. I always mess those two things up. There's no Dern, so big bodies out there. Paul Reed will have to, handle Karl-Anthony Towns, and we could see a big scoring game from him, but Towns sometimes a little bit harder to go out there and trust. Toronto and Chicago. We already talked about this game too because we're going to Quickley's assists. Chicago, you can look at what they got going on. Giddey, Simons, Okoro, Buzelis, and Jalen Smith. Their defense is not very good, and it's a 6-point spread in favor of Toronto on the road here. So we already talked about this game, but you can see the projected minutes. We're going to see a lot of minutes from those main guys. Everyone pretty much healthy and ready to go. We'll see if Sandro Mamukelashvili plays, but Colin Murray-Boyles projected to play here. He's probable, and Jakob Poeltl's back for this team too. Chicago side of things, they're still messing around with their weird rotations because they just traded pretty much everyone. But this is what we got for projected minutes. Colin Sexton off the bench has been awesome in limited time when his prices and lines are really low. Phoenix and San Antonio should also be a pretty good one. 7.5-point spread in favor of the home team here, which is San Antonio. We already talked about a guy like Stefon Castle playing pretty dang well. Hopefully he gets the time on the court, projected for 27 minutes here. But the Spurs don't play a ton of guys a ton of minutes unless it's very close. So hopefully it does stay relatively close. No Dylan Brooks here for the Phoenix Suns. So this is what they got going on in terms of their projected minutes. But I already talked about Castle enough in that game. So that's what we got going on for that one. Then we got 3 more games here, Boston and Golden State. This will be in Golden State. No Porzingis, probably. No Porzingis, I would say. Curry and Jimmy Butler obviously out for the entire season. So projected minutes right here. I think Guy Santos is a guy you can look at his unders. He's been scoring pretty well. I was looking at his under 5.5 rebounds against the Celtics. Celtics are 5.5-point favorites. Another guy like Keita, I was looking at his over. I think it's 5.5 or 6.5 points. Probably going to get anywhere from 16 to 24 minutes with Vucevic now in town. But I think he could score some points in a hurry. This team doesn't have a ton of inside depth, but at the same time, they kind of run small. So maybe that hurts Keita in terms of his minutes. But that's that game right there. Still no Tatum, but he could be, potentially coming back here in the next month or so. We'll see what happens there. Then we got Orlando and Sacramento. No Franz Wagner. He's going to be out for a while. Tried to come back, dealing with that. I forget what injury it is, knee or something like that. But he's not going to be around for a little bit. So we're going to get guys like Desmond Bane, Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, all those guys I was looking at their overs, to be totally honest. Desmond Bane maybe knocking down some threes. Jalen Suggs just getting some scoring to go against this Sacramento Kings team. For the Kings, they're just throwing in the towel. They got no Zach LaVine, no Sabonis for the rest of the year. This is what they got going on. And remember we talked about Nick Clifford's free throws. Yeah, he's been getting a ton of time in the court, and he's been hooping in some of these games. So could be an interesting look for some of these Sacramento players as they start to adjust their lines over the course of the next few weeks without those guys playing now. And some of those guys could definitely get some boosts, but Nick Clifford's kind of the one that I've been trusting over the last few weeks. Then finally, the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets, 4-point spread in favor of Denver. No Aaron Gordon, no Peyton Watson. One play I almost went to, and again, kind of a scary one. Jokic under his 9.5 assists. That's not like I'm saying Jokic is going to have no assists, but 10 is a lot. Jokic gets 10 a lot. He gets triple doubles a lot. But just an interesting one to go against the Clippers. They've been pretty dang good in terms of what they've been doing with, the Kawhi kind of leading this team. So, if it's a blowout, that would help the under for Jokic's assists on the under. But at the same time, this is not the most amazing matchup for Jokic to get assists. They do defend the paint pretty well, but we also don't have a lot of data without Zubac here. And they got Brook Lopez's old body down there, but he's a big body, so maybe it's a little bit more difficult. So just something I was looking at. Kawhi, rebounds was another one I was looking at. He's also been scoring extremely well, so maybe points and rebounds. But without Zubac and Harden, his rebound line have been really, really good to look at, and that's something I was also considering. So Kawhi's rebounds, I think it's over 6.5 right now, and Jokic is under 9.5 assists. Those are the two that are popping out to me. Still no Garland for this team. I don't know when we'll get him back, but those are the projected minutes for the Clippers. So that'll do it for the video. Hopefully you guys stayed all the way through, and if you did, let me know in the comments down below, because anytime you guys leave a comment, it does tell YouTube to push it out a little bit more. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the content. Hopefully you enjoyed the break. I'm very excited to get back into the swing of things, and we still got two or so months of regular season basketball to talk about, and we're going to be consistent like we have been over the past 2 months or so. So we've been killing it. We're going to try to continue to kill it. I appreciate everyone watching, and good luck with all your plays. Again, we talked about 4 official plays in this one, but I got a whole bunch more that I'm going to be looking at for the rest of the day. So good luck. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.